Hi, my name is Karen Ford, and I am the host of the Sci-Fi Zone. We will be discussing anything and everything about science fiction and gaming and anything in between here in Newfoundland and Labrador. And we will be talking to Chris Carter about A.I.R, and we'll be right back after these messages. So welcome back. And Chris, what exactly is A.I.R?
A.I.R is an acronym for Addictive Internet Radio. It's a local conglomeration of podcasts that have come together to form a local podcasting network. And A.I.R is the acronym for that, Addictive Internet Radio.
Okay, so
yeah.
How did that really start?
It was I'd like to take credit for the idea, to say it was my original idea, but it wasn't. I stole it from Kevin Smith, who is a filmmaker, lives in the United States. Obviously, I'm a big fan of Kevin Smith, and he a few years ago got into podcasting and started with one podcast, and eventually grew to several shows and formed his own podcast network called Smodcast Internet Radio. SIR is the acronym that he uses for that. So myself and Shannon, my co-host on Verbal Abuse, had been doing Verbal Abuse for a couple of years, and we knew that there were a couple of other people doing podcasting locally. So we decided it would be good together to get everybody together under one roof and form a network for various reasons. So that's how it started. Yeah.
So how well is it doing now?
It's doing well. Yeah, we get a lot of listeners. We have 3 shows on the network right now. 4 official shows on the network right now. We have Verbal Abuse. We have the 42 Special, which both those podcasts are more of an adult-themed podcast.
Okay.
And we also have the Whostorian, which focuses on Doctor Who. All right,
Right.
That airs every week, and Shannon was a
Yes.
guest on this show shortly, short period of time ago. And we also have Combat Arena, which focuses on the world of mixed martial arts and professional wrestling to a smaller extent. So there's 4 shows right now under the A.I.R banner. So
do you get many people come back to you and say, well, why don't you talk about this, or make improvements with this or that? Or
yeah, we get listener feedback. Yeah, it's pretty much, we love you guys, and we see Verbal Abuse and the 42 Special don't have topics per se that we talk about. It's kind of whatever's on our minds.
Okay.
The 42 Special focuses more on local events and things that are happening within the peer groups of the people who host that show.
Okay.
Whereas myself and Shannon on Verbal Abuse, we talk about things that have more, I guess, global appeal is probably the best word I could use for it. Okay, so it could be like celebrities, it could be celebrity death, it could be movies, it could be music, it could be games, it could be sci-fi, it could be a whole host of things. It could be history. We could talk about world history. It's just kind of whatever is on our mind on that particular week.
So you don't have a script, you just take whatever is...
No, never.
Whatever's there.
Not only do we not have a script, we don't even edit.
Okay.
We sit down and we hit the record button and we talk for 45 minutes or an hour, and we just put it up as is. It has a natural feel to it, and that's done with intentionality, of course.
Yeah.
because we don't want for verbal abuse anyway. We don't want it to be overproduced or feel like it's edited a lot. Some of the other shows on the network, The Historian does a lot of edits, and so does Combat Arena. But again, those shows are very sensitive to one topic,
Right.
and it's not made to be a conversation, a natural conversation between two or more people. It's focused on a topic, so those shows require more editing. Verbal
Right.
Abuse and 42 Special is just very, just sit down, talk, cut, upload, done.
Two guys shooting the bull.
Yeah. Well, for Verbal Abuse it's two,
Yeah.
and the 42 Special have four
Oh,
guys on their show. So, we get listeners from all around the world. We've got listeners in, you name it, Japan, China, Malaysia, India, England, France, Spain, Brazil.
Has Mr. Smith ever listened to your stuff? Do you know?
I would like to think that he has, but I would say no. But Jason Mewes, who is one of Kevin Smith's friends, who was Jay in the Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back and Clerks and Chasing Amy and all those movies, he follows me on Twitter. So I do send him messages from time to time to ask him to tune in. I don't know if he has. I would like to think he has, but that's wishful thinking, I think, on my part.
Where can people find it?
Oh, gosh. All over Facebook. Each individual show has their own fan page. If you search for Verbal Abuse Podcast on Facebook, or for the 42 Special, or for the Historian, or Combat Arena, each show has its own page. There are also Twitter accounts for each show. If you're on Twitter, Verbal Abuse is at Verbal Abuse Cast. The 42 Special is at the 42 Special. The Historian is at the Historian. Combat Arena is at Combat Arena Pod, I believe. And the network itself can be found by searching for Addictive Internet Radio. And on Twitter, it's at AirPod Network. And all the shows, we use the Podbean service to host our shows right now. So there are individual feeds for each show. And plus you can search the shows in iTunes as well. If you go into the iTunes store and search for Verbal Abuse Podcast, you'll see us in the 42 Special. We are bringing a new show on the network as well, by the way. It's called Something Uncensored. However, this is what we try to accomplish with the network, is have shows that are each individual and unique. Like, we don't want 2 or 3 shows on a network that basically have the same theme or themes.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't, for example, bring in another Doctor Who podcast. Because we already have one.
That's right.
However, Something Uncensored, yes, it's another mature themed podcast, but it's done by females.
Oh.
Which is
That's
right, which is the difference. Yes, and we're bringing them in under the ear banner as well. We're still in the process of making that happen. But yeah, they've got a pretty good show actually. I've listened to it, so yeah.
So
we're excited to bring them in.
So with your verbal abuse, where it's just off the cuff, 45 minutes, have you ever said anything that's gotten back to you in a negative way that you regret saying?
First one.
I don't know if regret is the right word.
Could have said differently?
No, it is the way it is.
Yeah.
No, and the way it comes out is. I mean, you got to keep in mind that some of the things we talk about, we're not even really serious about it. We're just saying it to have a bit of fun.
Right.
But we have gotten some listener feedback on several topics that we've touched on, namely a couple of celebrity deaths that we've taken upon ourselves to make fun of, I guess. And we're not making fun of the person dying. Obviously, that's very sad.
Right.
Sometimes it's the circumstances surrounding their death, or maybe we'll mock their careers. Like Patrick Swayze, we did a 20-minute segment on him when he died. And I don't know the man personally, but however, in his career, there was a lot of stuff that was easy material. So we'd mock that. So yeah.
So like if William Shatner ever goes, you'll have a little bit of stuff.
Oh yeah, just a little. It's funny because we I'm no I can't say I'm not a Shatner fan. I just wasn't a Star Trek fan. So, but I think Shatner's funny and all that. But there are some celebrities that they've passed away, and because and this is our own personal bias coming into play, they've died, and we've neglected to mention them on the show and mock their deaths. Michael Jackson being one of them. We didn't mock his death at all because myself and Shannon are both fans of his music. So we decided it was in our best interests to not do that. However, if we don't like them, chances are we'll probably. Yeah, like Liz Taylor, we shot her down pretty well. Yeah. So it's like anything you do in life. Your own personal biases come into it, and if you're passionate about something, you will, do something for it. But if you're not, then you won't.
Yeah.
And yeah, we talk about everything. Like I can't even name one or two of our most popular topics because it's so diverse. It varies from show to show so much that you really have to listen to.
So are you looking for any more podcasts to join the network?
Always, yeah.
So if anybody's interested, how would they get contact?
They could email. You can email verbal abuse at verbalabusepodcast@gmail.com, or get at us on Facebook or Twitter or something like that. We're looking to expand the network in terms of diverse shows and shows that cover topics that aren't being covered currently.
Mm-hmm.
So we're looking for people who are dedicated, who are passionate about podcasting, who want to do it, and have a topic that we feel would fit within the network. Then certainly contact us, and we can take it from there.
Is there any charge for any of this? Like if someone want to put a podcast up, or is it all free, or how does that?
It can be free. It basically depends on what you want to do with it. Like you can find servers that will host your podcast for free, but they'll only give you a certain amount of server space. Like they might only give you 500 megs or 250 megs of space, which is not a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And then after you fill your server space, then you have to keep deleting your earlier shows in order to put new shows up. There are various podcast host sites that you can get packages from them for pretty reasonable rates, about $5 a month, and that's what Verbal Abuse does. And it gives you a certain number of space to start, and then your space increases every month. It adds like 200 megs a month or something, so you can keep your library. Essentially, is what it boils down to.
And anybody in Hull can go in and listen to this. You don't have to join anything or be part of a club or a club.
No.
Go
into iTunes and type in Verbal Abuse Podcast. Bam, there it is. It's free. And to put your shows on iTunes is free. Yeah. But to host your podcast, there are costs associated with that if you want to incur those costs. You don't have to. If you're happy to do a podcast twice a month and delete old episodes to make room for your new episodes, then you could do your podcast for free. And of course, the only cost associated with recording a podcast is the cost of the equipment.
That's right.
A microphone, a computer, and some software.
Yeah.
So, it's a fun hobby. I really love it. Verbal Abuse itself came from my interest and Shannon's interest in doing a talk show or television show on local radio or television many years ago. Mm-hmm. And he moved to Nova Scotia, and we were chatting on Skype one night, and I just discovered, hey, I can record our conversation. And we just went from there. There was episode 1 right there. And now we're up to, we're going to record episode 49 tonight, actually. So
49?
Yes, we've been doing it. We've been doing it for 2.5 years, so it's a lot of fun. I really love it.
Congratulations.
One of my many passions in life, I guess. Podcasting, Star Wars, and hockey. That's
you can't put them all together.
It's a diverse mix. Yeah.
So I guess this is the end of our lovely chat with Chris Carter. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Anytime.
If you wish to be a member, like you want to join us on the panel and be a guest, you can always email us at the Sci-Fi Zone @gmail.com. You can also get us on Facebook, just the Sci-Fi Zone, and you can reach me on Twitter at KarenFord1. So thanks for watching.